get out in front of this and talk about it yourself. So they say that you owe about $500,000 in taxes and in child support. Dr. West, what do you say to these critics and these people who are bringing up this issue?
Well, one is, child support's a lie. I've always put high priority on my kids. In fact, I've treated them in an even lavish way, because I've always believed that they had a priority beyond anything else. And so when it comes to that particular front, that's just not true. It's just a matter of it's not recorded, but it's not true. But when it comes to the taxes, that's definitely true. I've been broke as the Ten Commandments since 1984. I've had waves of audits, waves of levies, waves of liens, and then the liabilities and the fees build up. So you get in the black hole. And I've always been honest about that. Always been honest about that. I am exactly like 63% of hardworking citizens in America who live paycheck to paycheck.
Do you got a response for this idea that Dr. West running is of course, I know you disagree, but they say it's inconsequential, like it's unhelpful. What's your response to that?
Yeah, for me, they're looking at the lens very much like Brother Axelrod and the others. They're looking at the lens through the two-party system. They're saying that there is no alternative. That was a term that was popularized by Margaret Thatcher, right-wing vanilla sister, many, many decades ago. Mm-hmm. There's no alternative. There's never alternative to Democrats and Republicans. There's never an alternative to the two parties tied to corporate America, tied to Wall Street. So just get used to it and somehow make your way through it, even though, and you notice this is what burns me up about those folks, you see. I don't really see them having moral, righteous indignation at the plight of brothers and sisters in mass incarceration.
There it is.
No, I don't see them concerned with what's really happening in the hood. They got their own comforts that they can fall back on and say, there's no alternative. Therefore, the poor just have to get used to being crushed every 2 years, every 4 years. And one of the litmus tests for me, and I know I've got my disagreements on this with folks, and I love my brother RFK, but we got deep, deep disagreements on this. I will never, ever sell or press people down the river, and that includes my precious Palestinian brothers and sisters. They're scared. They're afraid. They don't want to be marginalized and viewed as anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish. I'll be the first to be in solidarity with my precious Jewish brothers and sisters anytime.
We have to comment on that.
I love this man.
That's very important.
I love him so.
The fact that he's willing to stand up to the Israel lobby and he's making it very clear that he intends to do that. That's another reason they're coming after him with everything they've got already.
Oh, yeah.
And it really speaks in many ways to just how afraid they are of him. Guys, the election isn't for 15 months.
Doesn't matter.
They are this petrified of him already.
I'm scared for him.
He doesn't even have a ground game.
No, I can't even get people to respond from his campaign. Hello, call me. I really want to help. I'm scared for him. I love him.
He's a good man.
He's so good.
And he really, but you can also tell, and we're going to finish the clip, but you can really tell how he is upset about the way they're coming after him. Not because they're coming after him, but because they're coming after his family. That's a difference.
Lying about his kids. Here's the thing, and as you know, skanky and swampy as politics can get, unless your kid is involved in some way, a la Hunter Biden.
Ivanka Trump.
Well, right, like they're involved, so they are openly involved. They make themselves public figures. They're part of your political situation. That's open game. That's fair game. But like when you bring people's children and their role as a parent into something without properly, thoroughly vetting it, which clearly they didn't even bother to do, and you just used it as a headline to call out his, his parenting, his being a father, like. That's just, it reeks of desperation. It does. It's a bad look. It's a bad look. And even the tax thing, like, he's owning it. It is true. He's probably not proud of it. It sucks, whatever. But okay, good. That makes him understanding what everybody else in this country is going through. Yeah. It's not a negative. It makes them look desperate, these things. But going after something about his parenting and about how he takes care of his children, It's just gross.
Yeah.
It's gross.
Really gross. And but as you said, it's really desperate.
It is. And it just looks desperate.
Yeah. It's like they can't attack him on policy because they know his policy is gold. And that's the problem. That's why they have to run these smear campaigns.
See, he knows he's right.
Point, they're going to break through. That's why. And Tim Black sent an email thanking us for acknowledging, just what a great job he's been doing, because he has been.
I reached out. I messaged somebody who I don't know who it is on the other end, but it is the liaison between me and Tim Black. I think it might be Mrs. Black. I can't get confirmation, but I have, and literally in my contacts, it's like Tim Black contact, but it isn't Tim Black. But yeah, so I messaged whoever that is and just said, I really appreciate it.
And for everybody out there who is losing their mind about him running in the Green Party and gaining real traction, as I would say to anybody who's paying attention, key case in point right here. If he catches fire, all the pressure is on Joe Biden.
That's
not on
the point.
Not on the people. You can't vote for him.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Joe, the people really seem to like what this guy's saying.
Maybe you should do
something about it. We'll continue.
They're being occupied and subjugated or hated or attacked. I'm against Palestinians killing innocent Jews. That's wrong. But when you have 550 Palestinian babies killed in 50 days, which is the truth in January 2014, and you can't get one politician, black or white, to say a word, you know how cowardly they are. That's a spiritual sickness again. That's the decadence.
Can't they see this going on where the Democratic Party has decided, the DNC has decided, no debate, so they will get no oxygen to their campaigns? Do you have any thoughts about that? And also, did that influence your run with the Green Party?
Well, very much so. I mean, the work with Brother Bernie Sanders, and you made this so clearly with your powerful and eloquent shows, though, brother, that my work with my dear brother Bernie Sanders, who I do have deep love and respect for. We have our disagreements too. They cut very deep sometimes. But I love my brother. And it was very clear that they were going to do everything to ensure that he did not win. When our dear brother Obama made his phone call and made everybody drop out to make sure anybody but Bernie, they'd rather have Trump win than Bernie win.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a long time.
And when somebody comes out and says that, that's powerful because it's true.
Oh my God, it's so true.
Of course they would rather have Donald Trump than Bernie Sanders. Why do you think Wasserman Schultz and the rest of them did what they did? They know as soon as Bernie was eliminated, at the end of the day, it was like, well, we're winning either way. Either Hillary's getting in or Trump's getting in. And the same thing in 2020. Well, we got rid of Bernie. It's either Trump again or it's Biden, and we're winning. Who wins? Wall Street wins.
I just keep saying
wins.
He's a spoiler because you cannot spoil something that's already rotten.
Why do you think they're not as concerned about Marianne or RFK running in the Democratic primary? It's like we pointed out the other day. The Democratic primary, just on the surface alone, has super delegates, which controls the nominating process. He is running in the third party that they can't control, and he's basically at 5% of the vote, and they are literally cracking bricks.
And they are going to pull out every trick. They're going to do all sorts of stuff. I mean, look at what Matthew had to deal with in North Carolina. The state parties are going to start already pulling all sorts of shit to figure out ways to get Green parties taken off of ballots.
Mark Elias is the biggest lawyer in the Democratic Party. He was the Clintons' lawyer. And this is the man who went down to Raleigh, North Carolina, to get Matthew Hoh thrown off the ballot in 2022. He was close, but he had enough rallying power. Matt had enough rallying power behind him that exposed what Elias was up to, and they probably decided this is heat we don't need. And
we need to make sure that there's that kind of support behind Cornel West, because they're gonna do all of that stuff, because they won't be able to obviously just pretend he's not there like they're doing with their primary. And truthfully, it doesn't really matter about their primary. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's nobody that sufficiently represents what I consider to be progressive politics that is running within the Democratic Party. There just isn't. There's nobody that's progressive on Ukraine. There's nobody that's progressive on Israel. There's nobody progressive running in that party. So I don't see, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other if the Democrats have a primary, because it just doesn't matter. I support Cornel West because I support Cornel West.
And the other fear, of course, is that with the Democratic establishment, they're fine with any moderate who may suggest getting in there. But any members of the squad or anybody like that, there is no suggestion whatsoever of challenging Joe. There is no suggestion of even withholding your vote until Joe does something for the people. It's just go along to get along.
Endorsed him already.
How do you think you're going to gin up enough support to stop the GOP in 24? They're not going to do
no
it.
resistance building
None.
skills. It's really like they're building. They really look at it in a very sort of, we can only see one thing at a time, very unitrack. We can only see about getting Joe. Okay, so you can't pause for a minute and think, what could I get for this? You can't pause for a minute and think, I don't know, maybe the rest of the country might want to have some sort of benefit that I can maybe leverage. It doesn't like, and certainly between the squad endorsing, between Bernie endorsing, between the unions getting invited.
And what has that gotten Joe? It's gotten nothing. It doesn't work anymore.
No, nobody cares anymore. Keep endorsing.
Keep insisting that everything's fine and watch what happens.
And I honestly, I don't care whether or not they have a primary. I really don't.
Well, it's better off to just keep it 100% honest.
Right. They're not Democratic. And they don't want to be Democratic. If they did, they wouldn't have superdelegates. So again, it doesn't really. I would suggest, I urge everybody to go check out Kim Iverson's video that she did recently about how the Democratic Party. How the Democratic Party can put Newsom in at the last minute and replace Joe and get away with it. Watch the video. It's really interesting because they actually did the same thing in 68. So watch Kim's video. It's just a really interesting, and it was just sort of her going down a rabbit hole saying like, what if, and it was just really interesting hypothesis.
That's politics.
They'd rather actually lose than change. They made that very clear. And so it's, for me, I can't conceive of a Democratic Party that's not dominated with Wall Street interests, not dominated with militarism, not dominated with the Silicon Valley interests that really speaks to poor and working people. Break the back of the corporate duopoly. We got to break the back of leadership, liberal leadership, progressive leadership that is so well adjusted to the unjust status quo, which calls into question their progressive description sometimes. Maybe they're not as progressive as they think because they don't have the courage to engage in a truth telling about the status quo that they're preserving in order to resist a Trump.
Amen.
A plus. A plus.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
That's a gold star.
Well, that's also the danger. I remember being at the People's Convention in 2016, the first time I heard Nina Turner in person, and she was unbelievable.
Because she's Nina.
And then I heard Jill Stein speak, and I'm thinking, maybe Nina should be the one running. Because with all due respect to Jill Stein, there's nothing inspirational there. And she was completely inspirational compared to Howie Hawkins.
Oh, yeah.
So, and with all due respect to Ralph Nader, he's a wet blanket as it gets.
He is a little wet blankety.
But Dr. Cornel West, why do you think there are a lot of people out there that feel inspired by Vivek Ramaswamy? There are people that, with great oratory skills, can capture the imagination of people in ways you can't imagine.
But there's a big difference between people that only have oratory skills but are vapid on the inside, and people like Cornel West that have both oratory skills and substance.
And when you are running for president of the United States at this point in history, and there is no legitimate resistance, and resistance in the real sense of the word, an alternative, there isn't anybody who's out there who's talking like Vivek right now. And therein lies the danger. Because if somebody like Bernie was running right now, Vivek could never get away with that type of language. He would be called a fraud immediately because there would be the real counterbalance. He ain't talking about healthcare. He ain't talking about in fact, he's saying the environment's just fine. In fact, let's make it even worse. He is not talking about a living wage or labor rights. He is not talking, again, he's talking about— It's
not like the rest of the people in his group are. Trump gives lip service to it to just maintain that populist image, but no one on that stage was talking about any of those things either.
Yeah, no, and I understand Sable. Nina's not for everybody, and she's obviously doing her own thing that is away from running for political office as of right now. But there really is some, and
She grew up in church.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Dr. West is that when he said he was running for president, it was almost like, how did I not see this coming? Like, how did I not see that?
First, I thought I was hallucinating.
Yeah, I was like, but this does make a lot of sense.
It's good.
It's the right message at the right time.
Yeah, it is.
That somebody powerful has to step up and just say what needs to be said. And he is going to say it, and they're going to try every which way to make sure that that message doesn't get out there, which is why I hope against all hope that he can at least raise enough money to run a 30-second ad at an important point where everyone can see his message. Frankly, I would figure out a way to raise the $4 million by February to get a 30-second spot in the Super Bowl. Like, that's what I would do. In these bleak times, like just 30 seconds of just talking about an alternative.
It would be that talk about a Hail Mary. See?
Good use of fun right there. Good use.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.